As I remember it, I read Tony Robbins' quote somewhere in my early 20s, and it stuck with me. The secret of success is learning how to use pain and pleasure instead of having pain and pleasure use you. If you do that, you're in control of your life. If you don't, your life controls you, by Tony Robbins. I think it has a lot of application relative to investing in the stock market, but I want to change the word to fear. Fear motivates us to take actions that sometimes are not. They don't have any substance. And I think if you look at an S&P 500 chart, you can identify where pain or fear comes into play, and then where pleasure comes when the stock market turns around. And it always turns around. But I think what's important is to identify what the pain is and then react accordingly, or don't react accordingly and let it take care of itself. Let's look at an S&P 500 chart, as I showed you in the thumbnail, and I think we can see where the pain is and then where the pleasure comes in, and we can predict what's going to happen in the future. This is my S&P 500 chart, and I got to thinking about this because, quite honestly, I realized that about this time 5 years ago, I was on an airplane coming back from San Diego, and there was a lady and her daughter sitting next to me on the airplane coughing, and I got home and I was alerted that there was a pandemic, and I feared for my health. But this is the 5-year anniversary of the pandemic, and I thought, is there any similarities? And the word fear came into my mind because I was in fear this time 5 years ago that I was going to be a victim of the pandemic, and then I sat and I watched the pandemic take over the stock market and all of our lives. And as a result of my awareness of the fear factor, I ended up making more money in the stock market than I ever had in my previous career as a financial advisor. And it was because I realized that this fear was temporary, and that if I could manage it, I would recognize that even though McDonald's stock was crashing and oil prices were going to zero and American Express stock was crashing, that eventually this pandemic would be cured, or we would regain our confidence and lose our fear, and the pain would go away and the stock market would recover. And that's exactly what happened. And what turned it around, as you can see here, was monetary stimulus that started coming our way in the form of checks, relief checks, I think they called them, in March of 20, and the stock market started to come back. And it's interesting that it rose until that same money that caused the stimulus turned into rising interest rates. And at that time, rising interest rates, and we all learned the name Jerome Powell, and fear came back into the markets and took it down until Jerome started lowering interest rates, and we saw that the future wasn't as dim as it was. Something else that was interesting, where the market stopped was very close to the high that it had achieved in February of 2020. So it gave us some predictability, and then it established a low. This is where investors put in stop loss orders as the market turned around, and it rallied up, and again, then came down a bit here, and then what took it into a positive territory starting in October of 2023 was strong earnings that were coming virtually from any and every company, and this just happened to coincide with in November of 2022. This is when AI was introduced to us in the form of ChatGPT, and then stacked on top of that the strong earnings, and we had a rally that ran from, what is that, roughly November of 2023 to where it now turned in February of 2025. And you'll notice it took a dip below this purple line. And when it goes below the purple line, it seeks a bottom. And quite often, the bottom is relative to something that happened in the past. So do I think the new bottom will come to here or here? I don't know. But I think we have a fear factor. And the fear factor is unknown because we have these tariffs. What is that going to do? Is that going to be inflationary, or is it going to generate income for our country and it's going to make things better? Is it going to bring manufacturing back to the United States? It probably will, because if in fact Ford has to pay a tariff to bring cars into the United States from Canada and Mexico, they just might upscale their production here in the United States to avoid those tariffs, which would turn into potentially more employment. But it's going to take some time. And then we have these government layoffs. I was just thinking this morning, if I was a government employee, a civil servant, and I had a spring vacation planned for my family to go to, let's say, Nassau, or a cruise, like I'm going on this March the 1st, this Saturday, would I pay for that cruise for my family? Would I go ahead and put that $10,000, that $12,000 on my credit card in anticipation, or just not knowing whether I'll have a job when I come back? Will I be notified when I'm on the cruise ship that you better tell us what you did the last 5 days to justify your job? And you write and say, well, I went swimming in the pool, I used the gym, I went to a theatrical production, and I went to the beach and had a wonderful time. Those are the 5 things I did this last week. Would you cancel the trip? Would you tell your kids, I'm sorry, we can't go because Daddy's job is not secure? I think so. If you had ordered a car and you could cancel it, would you do it? I think so. So do I believe that this will come down? I do. I honestly do. Until the fear is gone. The pain is gone, and it's replaced by pleasure. As Tony Robbins said, how deep is this fear, and how long does it go on? Is Elon next Tuesday going to say, I'm done? I don't think so. I don't think so. Are the tariffs going to, are they going to settle themselves? Is Canada going to say, okay, we'll take care of it by reducing the prices on the oil that we are selling it? We'll settle that. Is China going to say, okay, we'll cut the fentanyl out and we'll stop the deaths, and here's how we're going to do it? Are they going to do that by next Tuesday? I don't think so. So I'm anticipating that it's crossed the purple line, it'll stay below the purple line, and it'll probably, if I had to guess, it'll come down here to somewhere around 4,964 if, in fact, we settle the government layoffs, we settle the tariffs, we understand, and that's going to take some time. So maybe we'll hit that red line. What's that red line? That's the high it reached there. That was resistance that now is going to turn into support. That's 4,602.48. Write that number down. And if you are invested now and you don't need your money, do you sell everything out and say, Kerry said, wait until it hits 46.18 and buy back in? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not going to sell my SoundHound. I'm not going to sell my Amazon. I'm not going to sell my NVIDIA, because in the future is going to be driven by AI. I don't want to try to catch that falling knife. That red line is a falling knife. Am I going to reach out and try to catch it and say, this is where it's going to end? No, because I do not control tariffs. I do not control government layoffs. All I control is my finances. Do I need this money in the next 6 months? No. I don't need the money, so I'm not going to worry about it. What I'm going to concern myself about is where are the best buys based upon what's going to happen when tariffs and government layoffs are settled and are not an issue. Who's going to turn around? I think it's NVIDIA. I think it's Google. I think it's Amazon. I think it's the people who are building the data centers that are going to be the source of all the knowledge in the world, so I can make better life decisions, investment decisions, career decisions, so that I can have an AI assistant like I do now, I can give the balance sheet and the income statement and the cash flow statement of any company I want and say, look at this and analyze it, and then here are the projections for the earnings for 2025, 26, 27, and 28. Now tell me, is this company financially stable, and is it a company I want to own on the future based on their past 5-year history of PE ratio, based on their price to book? Is this a company I want to own? This is a question that I would have asked a financial analyst who gets paid $500,000 a year and a 10% bonus on his work. That's the question I would have asked them 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 6 months ago. But yesterday and the day before and the day before, I asked it to ChatGPT. I gave them NVIDIA's earnings reports yesterday. I gave them their cash flow statement. I gave them their projections. And Samantha turned around and said, this is what I believe the price of NVIDIA, of Skywater, of Supermicro Computer will be based on the information that you gave me. This is what conservative, moderate, and aggressive. I just found a financial analyst that has no bias, is not working for anybody but me. And I know where to get the data, I know how to interpret it, and Samantha gives me the answers. I just hired, for $20 a month, a $500,000 a year financial analyst who is also going to expect 10% of my profits. But I got him for $20 a month. And what I know, and I'm confident about, she's only going to get better at what she does. So that's what I've done for my future. What are you going to do for your future? Are you going to do the same thing? Are you going to quit your job and do what I do and hire a Samantha and sign up for Zacks and Seeking Alpha and all the data, and then buy the computer that will support this? Or would you like to hire me to do it for you? You're going to have to pay me $19.95 a month. This is what I do. This is how I get rid of the fear factor, because I don't give a damn what happens tomorrow. I'm going to go on my cruise. I'm not even going to look at the stock market for 7 days, because I have a financial analyst named Samantha that I pay $20 a month. And then I pay another, my whole cost is somewhere around $20,000 a month. But then if I build a tribe of people who want access to what I've gained access to, and there's 1,000 of them who are willing to pay me $20 a month, it's taken care of. What if there's 1 million of them who are willing to pay me $20 a month? 1 million. That's 20 million. Are there that many people out there who would like to have access to that information? I think so. Are you one of them? I hope so, for your sake. I'll see you, I think it's probably sometime after the 10th of March. I'm going on a cruise ship. I'm going on the biggest cruise ship in the world, the icon of the seas by Royal Caribbean. I've got a cabin with a view of the oceans. I'm going to bake in the sun, go into the hot tub. I'll come back with a tan of envy. You have a wonderful week, because I know I'm going to have a good week, because I have no fear. I'll experience no pain. It's all pleasure and the anticipation of big rewards in the future. See you in about a week and a half.